Hey everybody, my name is Femi, and I am trying to read my Bible fast.
Oh, wow. I am Josh, and blessed are those who bring good news very, very, very quick on their quick feet.
Yes.
quick feet.
Blessed are those who bear the gospel quickly. Yeah. So this is why I'm sort of joking, our subject film is In Time, about time. And you probably shouldn't read the Bible too fast since it is Hebrew and Greek meditation literature. And yeah, blessed are the feet of those who spread the gospel. So shout out to all of our missionaries. And we're going to discuss scripture connected to In Time, or at least the way we think about movies. So we talked about the summary, the message, the audience, the rethink in some other episodes. And so we have this touch of the word or theology. We don't want to be overly academic, but as Christians, it's not just our thoughts about things in like that S-M-A-N-R. It's the actual, like, what does the Bible actually say? And we want to compare the truth and lean on the Bible. So we have some verses and some things that we think are really good to think about in comparison to the message and the structure of this movie. So Josh, I'll let you kick it off.
Sure. So I'll start with my Old Testament passage that I think is maybe growing to be one of my favorite Old Testament passages just for the moment, but it's Leviticus 19, 9 through 16. And it's this whole stretch of God giving like really specific instruction to Israel on like how to deal with the idea of like excess and like wealth and stuff like that. And why I like it is like when you read it, there's not really a verse that makes you think like, oh, like being wealthy and being successful and having a, because it's about like vineyards and stuff like that. Like having a big, robust, successful vineyard isn't painted as a bad thing, and God is like, how dare you have a good vineyard? Mm-hmm. But the use of the excess, and specifically who that excess is supposed to go to, I think is really powerful and challenging. And even as it goes further in, talking about the idea of like slander, injustice, not oppressing your neighbor or robbing him. So I think this idea of like, depending on your experience of who you heard the Old Testament God, Yahweh, to be, I feel like this is a passage to me that is really encouraging because it makes me really think about like God is a structural God. Yet as much as we talk about him being like relational and father, like he is very much about like structure and systems. And his desire was to have systems that were fair and uplifted, but also didn't allow for like easy outs, I guess, and like not trying. So that's Leviticus 19, 9 through 16. And then the second passage that I thought is really cool is Luke 19. So specifically the chunk where Zacchaeus shows up. And what I like about Zacchaeus' story is the themes of In Time. We were talking about this idea of the justice of fixing a system and how do you do that well without it being this like, let's just tear it all down and, like be done with the old thing and not really have a new thing. But there's not really a suggestion of redemption or restoration in Time's message. And I think in Zacchaeus, what I think is really admirable is in that story, he goes up to Jesus and he's like, anyone that I ever wronged, I paid back and I paid them back more. And I fixed everything. Like he didn't just say like, oh yeah, God, oh yeah, Jesus, I totally went and gave away all my money. Like he didn't do that, but he settled his accounts and he like undid any unfairness. And I think that's a really, really powerful image of the idea of like, as Christians, us being really careful about how we also talk about change and radical change, and that it's not just about making things quote unquote fair or equitable, but it is about undoing the wrongs and healing the hurts and restoring broken relationships that have happened. So those are my two primary passages. How about you?
Yeah. So the first one that I have, was looking at it, I was like, does this really fit? But it sort of does. James 5, verse 2, it says, your wealth is rotted and moths have eaten your clothes. And 3, your gold and silver are corroded, The corrosion will testify against you and
Mm.
eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. So I think that this has always been convicting for me because when I was a like middle school-ish Christian, I was like, oh man, I just need to work really, really hard in school and college. And if I go any further and if I make a lot of money, and as soon as I get the microphone on my face and people say like, how did you become so successful? You just say Jesus, and that'll be your witness.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got through high school and through college and through grad school and through working, I was like, oh man, I just got a lot of stuff I still need to learn. And money is not the end game. Although a lot of people around me who did the same thing are like financially very, very well off, if not extremely well off. And realizing that there's a part of me that wanted to be jealous until looking at these and going, oh, wait, like, didn't Jesus say it is harder for a rich person in the kingdom of heaven than a camel to pass through the eye of a needle? Like, this idea of the corrosion will testify against you. If I have this money sitting in my account, and some people want to get over that and be like, oh, well, that's fine. Like, don't have it corrode in your account. Pass it on to your kids. Well, next passage in terms of the parable of the rich fool. This is in Luke 12. It says, someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" First of all, pause. He's like, "Man, this is not my business.
Dude, that's not my job. Get out of here.
Figure that out. Why doesn't he want to give it to you?" He said, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." Shh. Say it again for the people in back. And he told them this parable.
Okay, cool, Jesus, but like, tell him to give more inheritance to me. Yeah,
it's like I feel like that was a subtweet. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you've prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God." Whoa, whoa, whoa. This is not you can't store. This is not you can't have a savings account. This is not anything that sometimes people who are really, really in the extremes try to do it. It just says this is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God. You can store things for yourself. Are you rich towards God? Is your heart posture rich towards God? Do you care about your brother dividing the inheritance because your brother is doing something bad, or because he's not giving it to you? What are you going to do with it if he gives it to you? Right? This is that question that we ask each other, like, what do you do if you would win $1 million? What would you do if you win, the lottery? Do you have an actual understanding if you win that much money? Are you just going to solve problems that you want to solve? Or are you going to entrust it to people who are going to be blessed because they're carrying the message of the gospel? Like, what are you going to do with that money? Really? Before we start getting into this is what I would do and this is what they should do.
Pokemon cards.
It's really hard to
lots of Pokemon cards.
Yo, bro. It's really hard to judge people when I start to think about it myself.
Yeah.
And you need that humility. And that is our mentality a lot of the time is we go, oh man, I don't have enough to store all my stuff. I think the average amount of stuff that people have in their house is over like 300,000 items. Now that it's probably books and miscellaneous papers and soap and old toys and everything like that. But 300,000 items is a lot. It's a lot, even if a bunch of them are small. I'm looking at I'm in a room and there's at least, I don't know, 300 books I'm looking at like right now. And we're not reading them all every day. We just store them, we have one of them's empty, but it's for guests. We have we're lucky to have a basement that has a bed that we do not use most of the time for guests and a little kitchenette with a fridge. But like we have another bathroom bed and stuff for guests. What?
Mm-hmm.
How special are we? You know? We just forget how much we have sometimes. And we don't have a lot of access, but we do have more than we need. Absolutely. Yeah. We have been in a hotel room that is small and survived, you know? So, yeah. Our houses are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're storing up what, you know? Like costumes, dresses, suits, what are we storing? And that's just a challenge in that passage of, am I rich towards God in my heart when I feel jealous towards somebody else? Mm-hmm. Or am I expecting something of God? Now we could get into John and what Jesus said to John versus Peter. But the last one is sort of in that eat and may be merry, but in Ecclesiastes 3, it's that big a time to passage. I'm going to call out 4 lines. Verse 2 is the sort of the big one, a time to be born and a time to die. That's the sort of counter to in time. Like people shouldn't be able to live forever. There is a time to be born and a time to die. There are lessons you learn. There are things that you pass on to the next people. You don't just take from people. Where's this energy and where's this time coming from? Also not answered in the movie, but that was the premise. Next one in verse 4, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. I think that juxtaposition is really important to remember the vastness of the human expression of emotion, and to be too stoic is a problem. To not really allow yourself to be moved by something is like, what are you, a robot? Like some Christian stoic robot? Like, what are you? And dance. So I don't care if you have rhythm. I'm not going to talk about who. If you don't have rhythm, you're still supposed to try to dance. Why? The physical expression of joy means something to God, evidently, here in this passage. And then the last one in verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate. What? And a time for war and a time for peace. Time for hate and a time for war? That is a question for me. And I say it to you because you need to meditate with God's understanding of this being better than ours. Mm-hmm. It is not saying, oh, well, this was a time to hate and I knew it. What? Hit the brake. You don't know what the time to hate is, but God is saying there is a time to hate. Most accurately, I know that God thinks there's a time to hate sin, to absolutely revile sin, to hate the work of the devil, to hate the love of items over people. There's things to hate. It's not saying a people to hate. It's not saying you know what I'm saying? And then a time for war. What are you talking about? Why do the nations rage? Oh, it must be talking about actual war. There's also internal war. There's also spiritual war. I'm not 100% sure, like, as it's being written and this poem's being written, what is all referring to every single time. But it does say time for war and a time for peace. Love and peace, great. Love, peace, and chicken grease. But hate and war are part of that. And then the eat and drink and be merry in the previous passage with Luke, it seems like it was a criticism. Like, so in Luke 12, where he says that I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain. And this is in verse 19. I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain. Take life, eat, drink, and be merry. That sounds like a criticism in that passage, but it does say in Ecclesiastes, 8, in verse 13, that each of them may eat, drink, and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God, right? The hard thing for us, and Josh, you were sort of speaking about this before, the burden on the human race in verse 10 is he's made everything beautiful in its time, but he set eternity in the human heart. There's a man, I'm not going to call him out by name because I don't want any smoke, but he's trying to live forever, right? Trying to age in reverse and take all these supplements and do all these workouts, and therefore diminishing the value of his days by trying to maximize this. Everything is beautiful in its time. It's good for you to age. I feel if I was old nowadays, I would feel disrespected by all these people who are trying to live forever and trying to not look like me or walk like me. It is an honor for you to be 85 years old and walk with a limp, you know? It's an honor for you to age gracefully and beautifully, and gray hair being a glorious crown. So I think that these three passages talk about time in a different way than the movie did. Of time is to be taken and used for your enjoyment, and you need to accrue as much of it as possible. And there's some people who have too much of it, and if they have too much of it, give it away to other people so they can have some. That's not what these passages say about. It's like this heart posture towards God, the understanding of what human life is about, and most importantly, the hoarding of these things can be a testimony against you. It can prove where your heart actually was if you have too much. So those are some of my passages. I don't know if you wanted to go into more either like the Zacchaeus story or any of those. I know I'm
sure
like partial preaching.
Maybe what I'll do is, I know we're both we tend to record late because that's when we find time to meet. So to maybe close out this section, we were kind of in our transition talking about the idea of how In Time doesn't talk about the heart issue and the human issue of the movie, that it's all about the societal and the system issue. And I think what's interesting is all of these passages are getting at deeper heart things. And so that I think is a personal challenge to me, and would be my challenge to the audience, wherever they're coming from, either from faith or not, is to really think about the kind of heart that you have and that the people around you are cultivating, and how that is actually influencing the protection or challenging of a system. Because I think of like the heart of Will is very wounded, and it's very much driven by vengeance. And, you know, literally his line getting into the car after his mom has died is, "I'm going to take them for everything they're worth." And that's not a heart that is going to mourn when it's time to mourn, dance when it's time to dance. That is going to be a heart that is only set on one thing and one outcome. And I think even with the Weiss, whatever the rich banker man, for him Philippe, and how Philippe is also this figure who has a heart that isn't willing to even send the money for his own daughter, because he knows it's going to upset a system and it's going to make changes that he doesn't want to make. More waxing philosophical there, but kind of also tossing that over to you, and any closing thoughts you have on that, on like kind of tying in the scripture and that concept of the human side of the story that
it was interesting that like with Philippe having that much money, right, or that much time, why didn't he have like a whole group of kids? Like, why didn't he have more children? Right? Like, why didn't he have a bigger family? It seems like he even kept his family small so they could maximize their time. You know, like why even have a kid? Really? Like, if that's what you're trying to go for, when people say that, you're like, that makes sense. I'm like, why would I have a kid? I have to spend a bunch of money on a kid. Like, yeah, if that's what you want to do, make the most money, don't have a kid. If you want to sleep through the night without any interruptions, don't have a kid. But if you want to enter into that really, really scary, unknown version of like what this child can do to you and emotionally wreak havoc in your life, like, yeah, have a kid. And for some reason, God says that's good. Like, I don't, it's so hard. And then growing up, if you're a kid who dealt with a lot of pain from your family, for God to say like, yeah, that's a good thing. You're like, I don't know. I didn't think it was that good when I was back there. It just the decisions he makes. Like, why are you playing poker? Like, why you're so bored? Why are you bullying a guy? Like, isn't this above you? There's a creator who has the rich people versus really rich people series, and how much people who have just an excessive amount of money are just like, I don't really care about anything anymore. Like, I'll be nice, I'll be polite, but I'm not chasing any. I have too much money. I don't care about competing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like he still had that in him of keeping up appearances and wanting to like look the part and feel the best. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't get at the heart of what Christ wants.
Mm-hmm.
The heart of what he wants. He wants all of us. He deserves all of us. And we want to be like, hey, you can have all of this, but I like really want this special card or this guitar or this car or this whatever. Or I don't want to give up all of my life for you. That's hard. Why would you ask that of me?
Mm-hmm.
And his response is, I gave up all of my life for you. Because I love you. Like, not because I want to manipulate you, because I love you. Your love for me is shown in how you love other people like I love you. Give up your life for them. And the eternity with me is promised. So against in time, it's the like, why are you protecting the status quo? Why are you still holding on to everything? And Amanda Seyfried's character sort of remembers it of like, why am I trying to live forever like that? You know, I didn't want to get into it too much, but I know we're sort of at the end. I do want to pray for all the people who've been affected by like all the goings on in the various files and exposés and church scandals and all this other stuff of, you see, the power is not just a type of person, but it's the problem is the power that we give people sometimes. We don't know what to do when we actually have the money and we have the power on how to like really control ourselves. So we all need to work on that integrity and give it to God, really. Like, really, really give it to God. So I could wax more philosophical, wax poetic on this for hours about what does it really look like to have the perfect week when you're directed towards God. But man, it's hard, and that should humble us. This should humble us greatly. So I'll leave it there for now.
Dude, no, good stuff. Cool. Well, I'll just give a couple like mini updates on our end. There is a children's book I've been working on for almost a year now. So we're really close to that being done. It is very allegorical. It's written to kind of be for kids and talk about the idea of like coming together across generations to like fix the world and working with Jesus to do that. So hopefully that'll be finished and ready to maybe share more out later this year. We also have a like manga parable journal hybrid that is in the works too, which also potentially will be done I think by May or June. So I don't know if that's going to be for like general people. We might be sharing that with some churches and stuff for their usage, but who knows? Maybe we'll throw it out to people, see if that would be something that they would enjoy. And as a side note, there's another podcast called Cinema Theology. I got to have a conversation with Hadid and Josias, who are both the hosts of that. So they're out on the East Coast, and had an awesome conversation. So go check that out on YouTube. We got a couple different videos, and I believe I've just been talking to Hadid that he and I are going to hop on here and actually talk about the recent Pixar movie Hoppers, which I highly recommend. I think it's a bit of a return to force for Pixar if you haven't been a huge fan of all the other ones that have come out. So
just generalize all the other ones.
Yeah. So it was good. A lot of really great themes, especially about the idea of care and passion and feeling like when you're alone in a good fight for something that matters. So I think there's a lot of great themes for this whole smart outline to digest. So that will be coming up soon. Femi, any other things that you think are important?
No,
that we have
not big ones, but small ones. Like we'll probably have a discussion in a little bit about how we want to use AI and work with some people on how do you make sure that human elements not lost as as we're going into this world where it's done. Josh has had some certain like private posts he's had and made about it and talked about it. I've had a lot of thoughts about it. There are some things that are beneficial about it that can help us sort of make sure we can grow. And we don't want to ignore those, but we also want to just have a conversation soon about what is the thing that people should be looking for when discerning and growing in discernment around what's created by AI, how it's used, can help you with your dishes and your laundry. Probably not the biggest factor that we're concerned with for your heart, but when it's really separating you from growing into understanding these things that Ecclesiastes is talking about, it can be a problem. So yeah.
And I think that's it. So thanks for tuning in to this episode for In Time. This is our final section, and we will catch you in another episode very soon. And with that, have a great time.
Peace. This episode was produced by Josh Erickson, Josh Cook, and Femi Shokoya, and edited by Josh Erickson. Our social media producer is Colton Mefford. We are currently self-supported. You can check out short stories, merch, and highlighted creators at parablearrows.com. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Parable Arrows or support us on Patreon. Thank you for listening to the Parable Arrows podcast. Think, move in faithfulness, and trust God. Pull back, aim high, let it fly.